Me, Justin Newmark here with the CNT podcast. This week I have Marcus Mastrobuoni here. And so I have some questions. Let's hop right on into it.
Let's do
My,
it.
my first question is, what is your biggest motivation?
Probably my family. I have a little brother. He plays baseball too. We push each other to be better people on the field and off the field. Um, it's fun to have a brother who plays too. But probably my family. They've sacrificed a lot over the years, and it's a big part to kind of give back to them and make them proud of us.
I personally, that's also one of my biggest motivation is my family has helped me stay motivated and kept me really growing with the podcast and have really supported me. And so another question I have is, why do you love baseball?
Competition. Uh, Growing up in sports, it's competition's a huge part of it. You go out every day and you're competing against another team, and sometimes competing against some guys on your team for a spot. So competition's a big part why I love it. I love going to different stadiums, meeting fans, seeing different places, cities, ballparks. It's all part of it, and it's so cool.
I am pretty competitive as well, and I always strive to be the best. However, I was never that great at baseball.
Yeah, it's all being just competitive. It makes it fun.
Yeah, I fully agree. I really love to compete in whatever I'm doing.
Exactly.
So I am a huge baseball card collector, as you might see in the background.
Hmm.
I on my podcast I talk about cards a good amount. Did you ever collect cards as a kid yourself?
Yeah, my brother and I were big card collectors. I was probably more of a baseball card collector than him, but we definitely collected cards. We have a couple binders back at home full of cards. So I love seeing the kids collect cards and stuff. It's cool.
And so, kind of following that up, if someone were to send you a card in the mail, would you sign it and send it back?
Absolutely. I personally like that. It's cool that someone has my card and they want my autograph. It's a cool feeling.
hmm I agree that I no one's ever really wanted my autograph, but I can imagine that that'd be a really cool feeling.
You might have to send a card to you, and then you're gonna have to mail it back to me.
Maybe. Who is like the coolest guy you've gotten to play with?
I've liked playing on every team I've been on. I've liked playing with everyone. They're all real cool, real fun people. As far as I guess big league players, gotten to play with Javi Baez, um, Derek Holland, Ben Zobrist this past year when he is rehabbing, um, Kendall Graveman, and some of the spring training games where some big league players come down to the backfields and play with us. But they're all really cool, really great people.
As a big Cubs fan, I love Javi and Ben Zobrist, and it's always cool to hear when get the chance to interview players to like the fact that someone I'm talking to has also talked with some of my idols growing up. It's kind
Yeah,
of
they're however people think they are like in interviews and stuff. They're just even better people in person. Wilson Contreras too. He's a great person. Vic Carantini. They're all fun to be around, and people think they're great in interviews and stuff, but they're even better people too. So.
Speaking of Contreras, I'm actually a huge fan of his, and I
Hmm.
actually have kind of a cool story. So the I live in Seattle now, but the Cubs came out last year. I went to both games, and so Wilson Contreras actually hit a foul ball in one of the games, and then months later, I went to another Mariners game and saw that they were selling the ball, and I ended up buying it.
That's awesome.
Like
That's really cool.
and they still had it. It was a really cool thing for me, and I still have it, of course.
Perfect setup for you.
Mhm. What would you say would be your greatest achievement?
Probably being drafted. Luckily it was by the Cubs, a great organization, great place to play for the past 5 years. just growing up and playing baseball my whole life, that's always been one of my dreams and my goals. And I was lucky enough to have that happen. So I think right now it's probably one of my greatest achievements.
That's really cool. I always, every time I do an interview, I always try and ask about something about when they get drafted because everyone's draft story is different, and it's always really cool to hear how how someone similar to me, like just graduating high school in high school, just gets drafted and becomes a professional athlete. It's always a cool story to hear about.
Yeah, everyone's draft story is different, like you said. And, when you first start meeting people and getting into the minor league games and learning teammates, it's always cool to hear everyone's draft story because, like you said, it's different. Some have, oh, this was going to happen, but then this happened. And it's cool to hear about how things went down on their draft day.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. So what is your like biggest? What are some of your big goals for your career?
Big goals. I think obviously every baseball player wants to make the major leagues, play a big league game. Um, Being a good teammate, good person, guys want to be around and want to learn from. I think being a catcher, we're kind of, I don't want to say trying to learn everybody, but we're helping everyone out. We're helping pitchers. So it's always nice to be remembered as a good teammate. That's definitely a big goal for me.
hmm as I said before, I was never really great when I played, but I always, knowing that I wasn't getting a ton of playing time, I always tried to be the best teammate I could to pick up some of the better players and just help the team stay happy and just pick people up when they were down.
That's awesome. That goes a long way. They kids probably don't really, I don't want to say remember that, but that for me that goes a long way when someone's trying to pick you up when you're down or you're at your worst. And just being that person that's always there for someone else is goes a long way in baseball.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. Like, we can take a look at like teams, like some of the great teams. You can have like the greatest players on your team, but you'll never win a World Series unless you have good teammates.
Absolutely.
hmm Next question is, what is your favorite baseball memory you have so far?
I don't know if I have just one. um, in this whole COVID season, just kind of looking back, um, a lot of the memories I miss are just off the field, on off days or in the locker room before games, or just hanging out, having fun with the all the guys on the team. Um, some of the bus rides, playing card games, talking, getting to know everyone, um, and obviously the games, doing well and stuff. But I think a lot of my memories that I'll always remember off the field memories and hanging out, joking around, and just having a good time.
Makes sense. I always liked some of my favorite memories when I played was when I was in the game and I made plays. Probably my coolest on-field memory was when I got player of the game in our first playoff game that year.
That's awesome.
hmm
That's really cool.
I I've never really got to a huge level where we really went off like had off the field memories though.
Hmm.
I I always wanted to make it to that level to have those, but I never really got there.
Yeah, there's a lot of some on the field memories and stuff too. But it's when you're hanging out, joking around, and enjoying off days, it's a good time. A lot of memories.
hmm I agree. I agree. What's your favorite like part about baseball? Like, what aspect is your favorite?
Hmm. Might be biased, but I think baseball is just the best sport. But being a catcher, I kind of like dissecting the game, looking at maybe a hitter's swing and being, how can I get this guy out? What pitch can we throw him? Um, Maybe the pitcher that day doesn't have certain pitches, and then I got to try and figure out, okay, well, he doesn't have this. How are we going to get through the lineup, the inning, a couple innings? Maybe save the bullpen a little bit. Kind of the strategic aspect, I guess. which I've gotten a lot more into the past 2 or 3 years, and really like, okay, I'm going to sit down and talk with a couple of pitchers. And how do you look at a lineup, and how do you read a swing? If he does this, if you see that, what are you going to do next? How do you break it down pitch by pitch? And a lot of guys have been helpful with me. Dwayne Underwood's helped, Kyle Ryan. So I like that part, to where kind of the mind game of it, where you got to try and beat them and dissect it and figure out how to get people out.
Yeah, I always, when I was in like the dugout, I would always try and figure out what like the third baseman sign was for when they had runners on base. So then I could see it, tell my coach, and then they could be ready for it when I was on the field or when my teammates were on the field.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a big help too. Helps the team big time.
I always like to try and do that if I was on the bench for that inning, and just somehow be able to help my team somehow, even though I'm not on the field.
That's awesome. That's always part of being a good teammate and just a good person, helping everyone else.
hmm Uh, what game was your favorite that you had the chance to play in? So like, what the game you played in? What was your favorite one?
I think probably this game 3 of the championship series we had when last year in South Bend. Um, that was my last minor league game, and just being in the championship and going for a sweep. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Good competition, high energy. Played against a good team, and we came out with a win. So I was super happy about that. But that's off the top of my head. That's probably one of my favorites.
Mhm. You guys had a pretty good team in South Bend last year.
Yeah, we had a lot of good players, and got hot at the right time, and luckily we came out on top.
hmm I I really liked the team of South Bend. There was a lot of players I liked, and it was exciting to see on the Cubs. And even there was a few guys who I had gotten the chance to interview on that.
Who have you interviewed from that team?
Brendan Davis. I've gotten the chance to interview him. I'm not. I pretty sure Cole Franklin was called up for that postseason. I recently got
Yep.
him. I'm not 100% sure if Cole Reuter was on that team,
Yeah,
but
he was.
yeah, I recently got to interview him.
Oh, that's awesome. Those 3 great guys.
Mhm. I had a great time interviewing them too.
Yeah, a
Now
lot
I'm
of fun.
gonna interview you as well.
That's awesome.
Mhm. So got the last question here is: do you have any superstitions that you do?
I did in college. Before a game, I had a energy drink and a Snickers, and I hit my first college home run. So I rolled with that for a while, and then in 2017, I was playing in Arizona. Um, I would have a handful of bubble gum in my back pocket, and I would have a piece before my first at bat. If I got a hit, I would keep it in. If I got out, I would get rid of it and put a new piece in. Um, Nothing crazy about wearing socks for 10 straight days or anything like that, but those are probably my 2 superstitions I had. Um, I don't think I had one last year in South Bend. I just kind of rolled with whatever, and I try not to be too superstition oriented, but sometimes you don't ask questions, you just roll with it.
hmm I was never really superstitious, but I would always do the same things for warm ups before games. It was about
Hmm.
the only thing that I did that was anything like kind of related to superstitions.
Hmm.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast for the interview. I had a great time.
I appreciate it, Justin. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I had a great time.
Same here. Appreciate it.
I'll see you later. Hopefully, I can have you on when you make the Cubs sometime.
Hopefully, I'll be there.
Thank you again.
No problem, Justin. Thank you.
Thank you all for watching this week's episode, and a big thank you to Marcus Mastrobuoni for coming on. If you like this episode, make sure to like and subscribe to stay up with everything CNT. I'll see you next week. Bye.